Assalamualaikum dear students. I hope that you're all fine by the grace of Allah Almighty. I'm Aqsa Malik and I'm the teacher of history in the senior wing, and I welcome you all in the part 2 of week 4 lesson of history. So let's proceed. First of all, I'll share the objectives of the study with you. Today you will be able to define the French Revolution and its impacts. So what is French Revolution? French Revolution began in 1789 and it ended in 1799. Revolution means a forcible overthrow of the government, and in the French Revolution, the French king was overthrown and a republic was established. So what events led to the French Revolution? Dear students, I would like you to listen to this lecture very carefully because I would narrate it just like a story. So it all began from the Age of Enlightenment. As in our previous lecture, we have discussed that during the Age of Enlightenment, the ideas of liberty, the individual rights, the freedom were promoted. And what happened that many states in the Europe, they started to get rid of the monarch, and finally they were becoming the republic states. And at the same time, a revolution came in the America, and America also became a republic state. So on the one side, a huge change was going on in the Europe and in the American sector, while on the other side, the France was still following the old traditional practices. And what were those old traditional practices? Because it was still ruled by the king. France was divided into 3 classes, which were called as estates. So what were these estates? Basically, there were 3 different classes. The first class was composed of the king, which was Louis XVI, and the second class, there were noblemen, Catholics and clergy, and in the third class, it was the middle class. It was composed of the merchants, the craftsmen, and the rest of the population of France. So the middle class, or you can say the third estate, formed 98% of the French population. So at that time, the Pope and the kings, it means the first 2 classes, lived a luxurious life and paid no taxes, while the common people suffered from the poverty. It means that the middle class, they used to pay taxes to the church, to the local, to the noble people, to the Catholics and the clergy, and the king and the noblemen, they all used to live luxurious lives which were being given by the middle class. So what happened that during the French Revolution, the king, he decided to help the Americans, so he sent help to them and America became a republic state. So what happened that now king decided to bring some financial reforms in France. The financial reforms means that to bring some changes in the taxes policy and to give some privileges to the common people. So for that case, he sent one of his finance minister to the people, and when people learned about these financial reforms, they got really happy. But what happened that the advisors of the king, which were majority from the second class like the nobles, the clergies and the Catholics, they made king to realize that if he would provide all the privileges to the people, then their privileges would end. So what happened that the king decided to, oust all of those financial reforms. He rejected all those reforms, and it finally led towards the beginning of the revolution. Now, beginning of revolution was again very interesting because the people, they came into the streets, and firstly they attacked the Bastille prison. Bastille prison was the symbol of the royal power, and it was kind of a weapon storehouse. So what happened that it remained for 10 years, and finally the king was executed and France became an independent state. So what was the impact of the French Revolution? The first thing was that after the revolution, the individual freedom and equality, it was promoted. And the 3 words, liberty, equality and fraternity, they become universal. The idea that all men are born free, it was given into the society. Now the French Revolution and establishment of the Republic, it inspired the other nations as well. It means that now the people of the Europe, they can get independence from their monarchs as well. And finally, France became a republic state. It was not the end of the story, or you can say that despite of the fact that France became a republic state, but it was not a successful republic. Why is that? We'll discuss it in the next topic, that is the Napoleon, the emperor. Now, Napoleon Bonaparte, he became the emperor of state in 1804 and he remained till 1814. So who was the Napoleon? Basically, Napoleon was not a French, and he could not speak French without an accent problem. He was a Corsican. What is a Corsican? It was an island, but the funny thing is that this island was not French at all. It had been sold to the France just 1 year before Napoleon's birth in 1768, and the island was sold to France by its owner, Geneva, which was the Italian state. So what happened that during the French Revolution, a lot of the noblemen were in the army, and because of the revolution, they left the state. So it also created vacuum in the army positions as well. So at that time, Napoleon was commissioned in the army as a lieutenant in 1785. But he was not interested in the French Revolution at all. The reason was that Corsica, the island, it started an independence movement at that time, and Napoleon was quite busy in that. But it was an unsuccessful attempt, and Corsicans were captured by the France. So after the French Revolution, when the king was ousted and a republic was formed, the power vacuum was created in the politics of the France, and many political parties were formed, and they started fighting with each other. And at the same time, because of that revolution, what happened that the neighboring countries of the France, they started getting threatened by this revolution, that the kings of those states, they started to feel the dangers of this revolution into their own states as well. So what happened that they started threatening France. So Napoleon was in the army, and he fought many battles to defend France. And finally, because of the political vacuum, because of the political instability, Napoleon took over. Because of his success, the people admire him, and he promised people that he would bring back the concept of equality and fraternity from which were the foundations of the French Revolution. Finally, what happened that he became the emperor in 1804. So after becoming the emperor, he wanted to expand the France, and for this case, he almost fought 60 battles, and most of them were won. And finally, as you can see in the map, that this was the land ruled by Napoleon directly when he came into the power, and afterwards the gray area shows the allies of the Napoleon and his conquered states. So he was expanding the France Empire. And what happened that finally in 1814, the great powers, as you can see in the map, the Britain, the Sweden, and the Russia, they joined their hands together against Napoleon, and they defeated him. And Napoleon was ousted, and Louis XVIII was, a young Louis XVIII was imposed on the French throne. But Napoleon didn't end here. In 1815, he again, gathered his army, and he attacked at Belgium at the place of Waterloo, but he again met with a decisive defeat. And finally what happened that he was captured by the Britain, and he was sent to exile in an island called Helena, where he died in 1821. He tried to escape twice from that island, but again he was captured, and he died in the prison in 1821. So that's it for today. Now let's discuss about the assignments. The first thing is that you are supposed to write the meanings of any scientific words other than the words given in the glossary. It means that read out the current topics which we discussed in this and the previous lecture, and find out the difficult words and write down their meanings. And afterwards, watch a documentary on French Revolution and Napoleon Bonaparte on internet to assess and analyze the causes of French Revolution. So that's it for today. Dear students, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.